All right, so here we are in the organizational psychology section of the course, and this is definitely organization, right? The organization of work itself. Okay, so we'll start off with some discussions of two videos on organizational theory first. Okay, so organizational theories. In fact, if your history knowledge is kind of poor, it would be a real benefit for you to stop now and kind of go back and look out these two videos over on the side, because organizational theory doesn't exactly make sense unless you kind of know what was happening beforehand in work, how work was organized before this point. Okay, so organizational theory are propositions to explain how groups and individuals behave, blah blah blah. Okay. So in this video, we'll talk about classical organizational theory, which often looks for the one best way to do things. Then we'll go into contingency theories, as we can probably predict. That means there is no one best way. Then we'll talk about human relations and open system theories. Okay? So classical organizational theory. I mean, here it is, the putting out system or something of this nature. Here is the workplace on the left. Here is the workplace on the right. See, a radical shift in the way things are done. Okay, so it arose during the Industrial Revolution, and so some of the basic understanding, the basic assumptions or tenets, rather. Organizations exist for economic reasons. All right, that's straightforward. Scientific analysis will identify the one best way to organize your workforce. Specialization and division of labor will maximize productivity. And then people and organizations are rational creatures. Okay? Well, I don't know if it's all true, but those are the tenets. So the idea in classical organizational theory is organizations should work like machines, and the people and technology is the components of that machine. Okay? So there's two different basic developments in this area. So we'll start with Frederick Taylor's scientific management, and I mean, the very name scientific really kind of sticks it out. But I love this idea. See, there's one best way. So look at this. He goes to Bethlehem Steel Company, and he starts looking at the workers, and he finds that the workers, when they're shoveling coal into the fire, that they were all doing a little bit differently. So he looked at how much coal was on each shovelful, and he found if there was not enough coal, if you put light loads, if you were picking up small amounts, then you were bending over too often. If you were putting too much coal on the shovel, then you were just slowing down too much. And so he found some ideal point of somewhere around 22 pounds, okay? So if a person has approximately 22 pounds on their shovel, that will maximize productivity. And look at that. I mean, relative to some people over here, he's over doubling productivity. I mean, just by controlling. And so then what he did was he had the company simply create shovels that held that much coal. Pretty easy. Okay? So the organization is a machine, pragmatic machine. The goal is to run efficiently. Okay? And so, yeah, you're gonna want to gather data to about the most efficient way to get things done, and then just implement it. Okay. So management is supposed to go to the best workers. You're supposed to gather data from the best workers. You're supposed to take that data, turn them into laws and rules that you can then teach to others. Okay? Select workers, train workers, redistribute, etc. Okay? Max Weber, on the other hand, had a form of classic organizational theory that he called bureaucracy. Now, we all know the word bureaucracy, and it's taken on bad connotations, shall we say. And so he looked at large organizations and see how they ran, and kind of used that as a model to start with. Okay, so he argued that an organization is described if you look at it on 4 dimensions. Number 1, division of labor. How much division of labor do you have? And so he believed that there should be specialization of labor, very much like Frederick Taylor did. So each job is specialized. It's very specific responsibilities. You train an employee to do their job. You allow them to become an expert at their specific task. Therefore, every single part of the production is done by an expert in the field. Okay? But, of course, what happens in certain cases where a task requires interdependence, multiple people to complete the task, having individuals that are specialized highly will definitely inhibit that. Delegation of authority. Okay? Supervisors should delegate authority, tell people to do things, and follow through on it to make sure that they do. Okay? Bureaucratic organizations should be top down. This is kind of like the military. So you've got a general that truly makes these decisions. The general then says to the manager, get the job done. And the manager's job is to figure out how to make it happen. Huh? And then the last element in a bureaucratic organization is this notion of span of control. So what is the best span of control? This manager has 3 employees. And that's probably not a good span of control. A manager should probably have more like 20. I don't know. I mean, and that needs to be explored, right? What is the most efficient span of control? Okay. So, yeah, we said that. Okay. So, obviously, classic organizational theory it's interesting, but it does reduce human beings down to machines. It ignores anything about human emotions, human desires, anything to do with the workers are cogs in a machine. They're just like a bolt. Okay. And so what you find is it's just basically operant conditioning. And to the degree that operant conditioning can be used to control behavior, classic organizational theory can be used to control the outcomes of a company. Okay, it can be in some kind of a ways. Okay, so it is what it is. It's a good starting point. I mean, this is one of the most impressive findings I've ever seen. All right, if you can double productivity just by changing the shovel, woo-wee. Okay. All right, we'll come back next time and start doing contingency theories and the others.